Welcome back. Now on to sports matters. NBC Sports journalist Nicolaus Thiremo was named on the long list for the Young Reporters Broadcasting category at the AIPS Sport Media Awards 2025. Announced last week, Wednesday, in Lausanne, Switzerland, the long list represents the first stage of judging and, of course, features young broadcasters from 13 countries worldwide. Thiremo's entry was titled "COVENTRY'S Rise to the IOC," focused on Kirsty Coventry, a former Olympic swimming champion from Zimbabwe and also one of Africa's most decorated athletes with about 7 Olympic medals. And of course, what part of the story now is, of course, what he used to apply at the AIPS Awards. And in March 2025, she was elected as president of the International Olympic Committee. Nicolaus now joins us in studio to tell us more about, of course, his nomination, as well as how he feels for his awards. Perhaps also more. Nicolaus, welcome to the studio. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much, John, and good to be here.
Absolutely, man. I'm super proud of you, first and foremost. This is your first nomination after quite a very, long journey of producing. But tell us about the journey, first and foremost. How has your journey been, being a sports producer thus far?
Well, I think the journey has been one of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Started off 3.5 years ago as an intern, worked my way through the ranks, and now as a journalist. For me, as a budding journalist, to get this nomination, for me, it only means growth from where it all started.
Indeed.
And it just reminds me of those tireless days and nights that I used
mornings,
to work behind the scenes.
The breakfast show.
Exactly. So when you look at that journey itself, it's been one long one. You ensure that you put out stories, and all the output that you put out there, it strives and meets all the merits and expectations that you are working towards. Yeah, most. And also, I must note that with this nomination, it's also validation that your work gets to be recognized, just for the mere fact that you put out an entry and it meets the requirements of the AIPS. I think that's something for me that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, this doesn't just come from me alone, but it comes from the team as well.
Indeed.
They laid out the foundation, and we have instilled a culture where we just strive to get better and better every time.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your entry, of course, then the story that you've used to entry. Coventry's rise to the IOC. What first of all inspired you to actually then want to come to explore the story further?
I think just to put it in context, last year in March we premiered our program called Sport Uncovered. So it's an investigative program. So when we aired it, we were looking at investigating an array of different topics in sport, whether be it the good stories or the controversial ones. So when I looked at the stories that I had at the time for the entry, Kirsty Coventry's one was a cut above the rest, and I was just looking at her pedigree, her path, what she has done in the sport. She's an icon. She's won 7 medals, 2 gold, 5 silvers, and as well as a bronze medal. So when you look at that, I just looked at that story and I said, this is a story that is worth telling, and also it's something that's out there in the world, because she was an athlete before in her heydays, and she went on to become the sport minister of Zimbabwe, and then thereafter she was also now the IOC president last year in March. So that is a story that came from dust to glory. Yeah,
so you are basically just telling her story then, in terms of where she comes from, her journey, and also where she is now.
Very much so.
All right. Let's talk about what it actually then means. I mean, the step that your team at the sports desk also perhaps decided to actually take up investigative journalism in terms of sport. How has that change been? Because I mean, it's not really something that has been much focus on, but that shift from just normal sports producing and sports stories coverage to investigative sports stories. What really has inspired that shift? If you can speak for the whole desk.
I think that shift basically came from a point of view where back then, the sport department was a very small section, it used to be called. But then as it became bigger, it was just solely focused on only news. And we also had a program called Intersport. So Intersport changed from Intersport to Sport Uncovered.
Yes.
So the stories that were being investigated on Intersport, it wasn't really enough. The platform wasn't really serving justice for that. And then we said, why not we extend it more into the field and ensuring that we do a deeper investigation. So that whole fire just came from Intersport, changing it into Sport Uncovered. And yeah, today it's really doing well.
Absolutely, and it's getting you recognized on international platforms now.
Yeah.
And speaking of recognition on an international level, how does it really make you feel as a Namibian to, be put on a long list of, hundreds of international sports journalists who are really trying to make, sports not better, not only for the world, but of course for us as Namibians as well. I mean, it's inspirational to many young journalists as well.
I think when you look at the sporting landscape in Namibia, it's not quite a big one, but the pool itself it's very wide and vast. So this, for me, it's my first entry. Yeah. There's been other sport journalists in the Namibian sector that have been nominated before. They have won it before. Yeah. Victorine, she has been part of it like 3 times now. So when I look at that, for me, it's a proud moment. Just looking at back from where I started and to where I am now. So it also just tells me it's not time to slow down, but keep on going, because there's always somebody out there that's watching and saying, you know what, I think this guy is doing well.
Yeah. And how does it inspire you to actually keep on doing more? Like you mentioned, this is your first recognition, or rather your first entry and your first nomination internationally. But how does it actually inspire you more to actually want to do work that's actually going to speak to the international community?
I think for me, when I started off with Sport Uncovered producing, I think the work I was doing at the time, I fell out of touch with it because, coming from a background of school, and I was just intertwined into thinking I need to do.
You dived in head first, right?
Yes,
into it, straight from
exactly.
School, yeah.
So I was like, I really need the journalism aspect because. So when I entered into Sport Uncovered, so I fell in love with investigative stories and just storytelling in general. So for me, that path in itself, I would say it's the core and the foundation to all this. So it's a good feeling to be nominated, and I think from here on it's just to keep on going, because you must always be ready and you always have to keep on going.
Absolutely. What's next for Nicolaus Thiremo? I'm thinking more awards. I'm thinking more nominations. Of course, hoping that for you. But what are some of your next years looking like as a sports producer, as a sports journalist? What are you aiming for?
I think right now in the interim and also the long term, I would like to note that Sport Uncovered has been in the off season since last year, August, but it returns today at 7 o'clock on NBC2.
That's right.
So we've been doing more investigative stories, and we'll keep on doing more investigative stories. And I think for the longest time, I have neglected the part of saying, let me enter this for an award, and I think I'm really now open to doing that more, because this is just a nomination, but it's a proud moment as well. So it just tells me I just need to keep on submitting, and you never know, one day something good can come out of it.
Absolutely certain. Something more should happen for you. For younger sports journalists who, of course, want to step into the field, who wants to step more into the career, to choose this as a career, what is your advice to them, and how they can actually align themselves well to actually get to where you're also headed?
I think the first pointer is just to be sure of what you want to do. Yeah. Because you don't want to be all over the place, or you want to start something and then you end it. You want to start and then finish something. Yeah. So I think it's a matter of focus. It's a matter of believing in yourself. And it's also a matter of not looking at John and saying, John is better than me. It's a matter of believing in yourself and just working on your own craft. So, because at the end of the day, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Absolutely. Well, super proud of you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations once again. I'm sure I'll be having a conversation with you with a trophy in the studio soon again.
Thank you so much, and best believe that happens.
Absolutely. Nicolaus Thiremo is a sports journalist here at the NBC, as well as the producer for that is Sports Uncovered on NBC, and it plays tonight at 7 p.m. You can, of course, tune in to see some of the work that he has been putting out for us throughout the years. And what's most important is a conversation that we had earlier today, which is, of course, him being named onto the long list of young reporters broadcasting category at the AIPS Sport Media Awards 2025 that's set to take place in Switzerland. Of course, hoping to hear more from him.